Welcome to Chocolate Cake for the Soul, a space to return to your truth, awaken your energy, and leave with deeper clarity. I'm Dewi, and I'm here to hold gentle yet powerful conversation on healing, intuition, and the unseen energy that shape our lives. Whether you're building a soulful business, navigating your inner wounds, or simply learning to trust your intuition again, you're exactly where you need to be. So find your favorite cozy corner and take a bite of chocolate cake for the soul together. Our guest today has worn many hats: content creator, host, founder, and is just getting started. Born in Surabaya, raised in Papua, and now based in Jakarta. He's the kind of mind that never stops building, from simplifying big ideas through the 7%.co to sparking deep conversations on Gold.podcast, to leading Gold Publishing and now even pioneering an AI marketing agency. It's all about creating value that lasts. Please welcome to the podcast, Edward. Thank you so much, Edward, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So today we are talking about how do you navigate through spiritual and business growth simultaneously. Now, Edward, I've seen, and I've been in one of your interviews also, and I've seen some of the interviews that you've done with Goal Podcast. In your own journey, as you talk through, with a lot of people, how has your views of success evolved?
My view of success has changed a lot lately, especially because I've interviewed a lot of people, right? Successful people, including you.
Thank you.
So my initial definition of success would, just like anybody else would imagine, would be related to financial success. It would be measured with numbers, quantifiable, like $1 million, $1 billion. But over a certain period of time, over me learning a lot of new things, I redefine it along the way. So the funny thing is that the more that I meet people, the more that the definition itself it simplifies.
Okay.
That's quite funny, I think, because the previous definition would be like, I would like to have a villa in Bali, like I would like to have a certain amount of money in my bank account. But now it's just, I think, having the privilege to feel peace and happiness within. So I've been striving for that lately.
Wow, okay. That's very deep. And you've met and you've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm sure there were a lot of interesting stories or maybe even insights that you've gotten. Can you share maybe top 2 or 3 that really changed your life?
It's kind of hard.
There are
Because
too many?
yeah, there are too many, and all of them shared like lessons on different aspects, right? So if I had to choose my favorite, I would say on the spiritual side, of course, it's you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow, okay.
The spiritual mixing with business too, with you. But the business, maybe the business one is with Ricky Sen. He's the founder of Dr. Mobil Indonesia. And the third one, I would say, I met with this sasandu player from Nusa Tenggara Timur. Do you know sasandu?
No, what's a sasandu?
It's a traditional instrument from Nusa Tenggara Timur,
Okay.
from Pulau Rote. From his childhood, he would develop this interest in this instrument that is, I would say, unfamiliar to most people.
Right.
Even
Right.
you don't know. I also don't know before meeting him.
Right.
So it's quite interesting for me, for someone to pursue something that is not popular. When in this modern times, we often chase the shiny objects, right? I myself often observe myself, right? I analyze myself. Why do I often chase the shiny objects? Like, why do I when the startup industry booms, I find myself asking and like chasing, what can I do to ride the wave, right? I don't know why, but I have this feeling to ride the wave when this guy, my guest, doesn't really bother with the trend and continue to pursue his interests in sasandu. So yeah, I learned a lot of philosophical lessons from my guests, even though they were not telling philosophical lessons.
Can you share a few? Maybe you mentioned 3 people just
Yes.
now. Can you mention maybe what was impactful for you, or a few sentences that really resonated with you?
With you in our episode, I remember we did it like a long time ago, right? I recalled something significant from that day would be, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we human are like a home, and the bad things around us that is happening is like people trying to getting into our home, but they could only get in if we permit them to do so. I remember I get a grasp that
Yeah.
you were trying to deliver that message, right? So from that moment, I actually learned to shut the door to the wrong things, right? The wrong responses that my body, this flesh, right? This flesh has a certain responses,
Yes.
like auto responses
The
to a lot of
program
things.
response. Yes.
But from that moment, I learned to analyze myself, and I try to be objective, right? I judge this response like, is this correct for me to respond to this in this certain way? If it's not, then I think I'll just let it go. Like the funny thing is that before this podcast, right, I told you earlier, I read a lot of literature on spiritual things. I read Fyodor Dostoevsky. I don't know. I don't even know what spiritual is.
Exactly.
I can't even define what spiritual is. So that's quite funny.
Yeah.
But I try to prepare a lot, right? A lot of people call me perfectionist. I myself sometimes identify myself as an idealist. So before everything I do, I would prepare a lot of things. Even though when things happen, people would only judge with like, you do great, you do good. But I feel like I prepare my best, right? Even before this interview, I read a lot of literature, like I said earlier. I read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. I reread it.
Yeah.
And then when I was reading, I spilled matcha all over my pants. So I hope the audience can see that, right? I spilled matcha, and then when that happened, I observed myself. I don't react, right? So I just freeze for a moment. I froze for a moment. And then I observed myself and like, am I mad? Am I shocked? Am I sad this is happening to me? But then I learned a profound lesson, I'd say, from just that simple thing.
Yeah.
From that event, I get to choose to be angry.
Yeah.
I get to choose to be annoyed.
Right.
I get to choose to be sad. Like, why do this happen to me, right?
Right.
But then I choose to be happy instead. I choose to get along with it. I accept that we can prepare our best, but there are some things that are out of our control, and we gotta have peace with that, with that fact.
Yeah.
So from that event, I learned to just prepare my best, and if the religious would say, let God do the rest, right? So, wow, that's quite a long lesson from you. The other two guests, do you want me to add?
Yes, please.
So from the second one, Ricky-san, it's a business lesson, right? He himself is not really a bookworm kind of person, right? So when he met me, he's like, dang, you've read hundreds of books? Because my business is in the book industry, right? So he's very shocked. But he's really the type to do things first and then learn the lesson later on. So when he talked based on experience. He really talked the walk.
Right.
Whereas I myself, maybe it's also related to my age. Yeah, I would say I don't have as many experience as the people that I met. I really feel like I'm still trying to walking my talk at my current position. From the business side, I would say that he taught me that you don't have to wait for the business idea to be perfect to execute on it, but you have to execute on it until the idea becomes more and more perfect.
I like that.
And the third guest, the Sasandu player, the lesson I get from him is pursue something that you truly believe in. Even though most people don't find that cool, don't find that shiny, we should pursue something that we truly believe in. I really admire his belief in the Sasandu. And I really trying to find the Sasandu in my life to believe in.
Have you found it yet?
Trying to.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That's very, very cool. So, in terms of spirituality, and it's okay if you don't have any practices, just wondering, while you grow your brand and you do your work in your business, are there any certain practices or mindsets or something that keeps you grounded as you grow your business or do what you do?
That's interesting because a lot of things ground me these days, especially. Because when I first started my business, it's like the easiest thing, right? I don't know, it's just the perfect timing, I think. But the business took off just rapidly. Like, I didn't do anything special. I just do what I like. And the business took off. And just like most people, I fell into the trap of complacency, I would say. I felt like, oh man, I think I'm gifted in this. Because a lot of my friends at that moment they were busy playing games. I mean, no judgment. It's actually, man, I was actually judging, but but the fact was they were enjoying their lives, maybe the correct word.
Yeah.
But I was already starting my own business and it took off. So I really felt that complacency, and I finally get to enjoy things with my own money, with my own money that I make myself at that age. So I really felt that complacency, and life happens.
Life happens.
Life happens. The competitors started to grow. They see my business and they're like, I can also do that. And competitors started to appear out of nowhere. They saw it. Even one of my competitors took my contents, they reposted and sell their own services with my contents.
Oh.
And I was like, dang, there are a lot of things outside of my control. I was like, is this the time to hire a lawyer? But I don't think the business scale is that big for me to hire a lawyer to make that an issue, right? So at that moment, I think grounded me a lot. Until these days, a lot of things still ground me. Like, especially after the AI boom, right? Recently, a lot of things that I used to brag about myself, I flex a lot, right? This is very bad, but I used to flex a lot of my skills, right? I would say I have quite a good taste in design. I would say I have quite a creative mind. So I would brag that a lot to my friends, like, you don't get to think, you don't get to come up with this kind of ideas. I get to come up with this. But then when AI comes, it's like, wow, ChatGPT beats me a lot. You don't have to pay for the Plus subscription to get the ideas I usually come up with. So this kind of things grounded me a lot, especially when I started the podcast, right? I really think to myself that we really never can stop learning, I think. It's just a lifelong journey, I think.
Do you mind sharing why you started the podcast? Is there a personal story there?
Okay, the professional answer would be I met my partner who is also in the podcast industry, and he's like, you're good at talking. You're good at asking questions. But I would say at that moment, I have the option to say no, right? I have the option to decline because I have my own business.
Right.
And I don't think the podcast industry is that profitable compared to the other industries. Because this kind of podcast, which delivers valuable messages, I don't think it's quite relevant to the market currently.
They like the entertainment.
Yes, the entertainment. The more profitable industry is the entertainment industry, right? But we get to do this educational podcasts, which is kind of ironic because when our goal was to educate the people, we don't get rewarded as much as the people that do this for fun,
Right.
for just entertainment and purposes only.
Right.
But at that moment, I really think that the podcast actually benefited me a lot personally. I'm quite egoistic. I think that this podcast would help me learn a lot But also, on the other side, I get to share these lessons with the people watching.
Right.
So it's like I get to learn, but the people that watch also get to learn. So I think it's a win-win situation. So I think by me sparing 4 hours a month, like 4 to 8 hours a month shooting, I think if that could impact me in the long term and the people that watch this in the long term, I think there will be a win-win situation. So I jumped into the podcast industry.
I see. Have you ever faced a moment where your business goals clash with your values?
Oof, you have such interesting questions. Quite sometimes I find that a lot of things that I don't know, is it just me that I don't really understand business that much yet? Or is it that some business decisions actually clashes with the moral, the moral ethical things, right? Like if we get to implement this manipulative strategy to increase revenue, some people that I know like tell me, you get to use this technique, which I find quite manipulative. But he said that it actually drives his revenue up, but guilty. I actually tried some, right? And it actually drives the revenue up. But the funny thing is that the universe, I think, punishes me for it.
Really?
Because it's not actually sustainable, that techniques.
I see.
It actually drives the revenue up for like just a certain period of time. But later on, the revenue started to stagnate it. And then it actually declines because the customers felt like this is not what I was paying for. Like it's like quite, I don't know, counterintuitive to what most businesses do. So from that moment on, I actually started to try to do everything with integrity, especially when I meet these successful figures. They always emphasizes the importance of integrity.
Yeah.
So from that moment on, I felt like it's okay for me to increase the revenue gradually, not like skyrocketing at that moment, just gradually, as long as it's sustainable.
Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing and being very authentic with that.
Thank you for asking that.
So a lot of entrepreneurs, like there's this mindset that if you're busy all the time, you're more successful and they can't seem to slow down. They keep pushing and doing more. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you reconcile maybe ambition with surrender?
Wow. This is how it feels to be in your podcast here. The question is very deep and spot on because I experienced that. I actually asked myself that questions recently.
Oh,
Like I'm actually surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs and especially the young ones, they're actually very proud of being busy. So me myself trying to ride the wave, right? I'm trying to make myself busy all the time too. Like I don't know, I set up meetings just to make myself busy, right? I don't know why, but I make this feeling that me not busy equals me being a failure.
yeah.
I don't know why that haunted me, but I think that is partly because a lot of people make that a thing, right?
Yeah.
I heard a quote, right? A quote from one of the most famous entrepreneurs in Indonesia too. He said that you being busy is actually the sign that you have bad time management. Which actually hits me a lot because busy does not equal productive.
Yeah.
Because I actually find myself a lot of times sitting in front of the laptop, typing with my mind running elsewhere. I don't know. I thought about what food should I eat later on. I thought like if the revenue goes up, I don't know what will I do later on. What industry can I tap in again anymore, right? Like when I get to sit like 8 hours in front of my laptop and get like only 2 hours worth of output, I would say, when I actually was urged to do the work, I can actually do that work in 2 hours time.
Right.
When I try to make myself busy. I can do that 2 hours of work in 8 hours and feel proud of myself at the end of the day. Like,
Oh, I
oh,
worked so
man.
hard. 8 hours at work.
When it's actually 2 hours worth of work.
Mhm.
So I actually would like to challenge the mainstream idea that are you actually busy? The question is that are you
Yeah.
actually busy or are you making yourself look busy?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So I would encourage a lot of entrepreneurs out there to ask yourselves, are you actually busy or are you making yourself look busy?
Making yourself look easy.
Are you actually doing 8 hours worth of work or are you just actually doing 2 hours worth of work?
Yeah.
Because once again,
Yeah.
busy does not equal productive.
I remember at one point, a few years back, well, many years back, I was busy all the time. Busy, 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 busy. And I keep telling myself, oh, I'm so busy. And oh, I'm so busy. And because I keep telling myself I'm so busy, I'm always busy, right? Even when I ran out of things to do, I'll make up things to do so that I'll be busy.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell myself, see, I'm busy. Just to prove that I'm
Yeah.
busy. So I started noticing that because I was like working so hard and I have young children at that time. So I was busy being a mom as well. And I was like, oh, can I just have, I don't know, 30 minutes just for myself so that I can, I don't know, do my own thing? Like, I feel like I don't even have 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I was busy either with the kids or with running the business or with the home or I don't know. I'm always busy. And one day I noticed that I completed everything. It was probably 8 p.m. So that's like, oh, 8 p.m. I'm done. You know, usually it's more like 10
Yeah.
or 12, right? Oh, 8 p.m. I'm done. Sitting there. Oh, this is strange. Like, what is this? 8 p.m. and I'm done? Like, what is, you know, like it felt
Yeah.
so strange. It felt
Yeah.
so foreign. And I couldn't sit still. And I find myself, okay, let's start a new project. Let's do this. Oh, yeah, let's do that. So I made myself busy again. That's when I caught myself, oh, I'm creating this. I'm creating this because I'm not comfortable being not busy. And also with the kids, because I used to complain, why are the kids so whiny? You know, why are they so needy? And I was like complaining and complaining. And then I realized that I was creating that. I was making the kids complaining. I was making the kids needy because I need to be needed,
That is interesting.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what, when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, I'm creating this again. And so since then on, whenever I'm with the children, I give my full attention and I fill up whatever they need to be filled up with. Then I realize it doesn't take that much time. I don't know, children get bored easily. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and they're done. You know, they move on to do their thing.
Yeah.
But before that, it would take me maybe an hour or 2 hours, and they're still needy, they're still whiny, and I'll get so frustrated. Like, what do you want from me? You know, like,
Yeah.
you want this? I've done this for you, and you're still, you know,
Yeah.
because I was creating that. So then that's when I realized that, oh, so I'm creating all of this for whatever reason, maybe just to be busy or whatever. But at that time, my story was, I don't have time. I don't have time. And that's what I keep telling myself, I don't have time. When I started shifting to I have time, I find myself, oh, I have 2 hours to read a book. Oh, I have, you know, whatever, how many hours to do this? Oh, I get to do this, I get to do that. So it's all part of, like you said, I don't know if it's like the culture, the programming, or it is what success look
Yeah.
like. It's definitely, it has something to do with that.
Yeah, especially with all of these Gary V's reels, like, you're still young, hustle. Sleep is for the weak. Like the hustle culture, right?
Yeah,
It's like sleep when you're dead.
exactly. I used to say, sleep when you're dead. I don't need sleep.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's kind of toxic.
Yeah.
That kind of mindset.
So, if you were to define success, I think we're circling back again to success, without, you know, the money, the followers, the achievements, and all that, what would you, or how would you define it today?
This question, I would ask myself, I think almost every day, right? Like, I get to redefine success every certain period of time,
Right,
especially every time I learn something new.
right.
So the current definition of success for me would be, I recently watched this video, a British stand-up comedian. It's, sorry for being such a Gen Z, right? My definition even got influenced by the reels that I watch, right? he said that I resonated a lot. So I'm going to tell you this because it resonated with me a lot. He said that if you're not going to change what you're doing currently, despite the monetary benefit, then you're already successful.
I like that.
I'm kind of, that would be the definition that I get from the Reels. But the definition that I constantly tell to myself of success is the ability to feel peace. Because I think that's quite an expensive currency, especially at this time in age. I often find myself being, I don't know what rushes me, right? But I feel like this urge to, what can I do more? What can I do to be more successful? Who can I reach out to be a potential partner? What literature can I read that can benefit me in the long term career wise? I feel this constant comparison in my head with the people, especially at this time and age. We get to find people, very young people, very successful at their age, even younger than us. And I don't know why it made us feel like a failure. It makes me feel like a failure at some moments. So I constantly reaffirm to myself that I have my own life. I have time. Maybe I have to affirm myself a lot that I have time. I don't have to rush. I have my own journey to pursue. So that way, when I affirm that, I get to actually feel inner peace inside. And that's when I actually feel successful.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and for being very authentic and vulnerable. And
Yeah.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for sharing this sacred pause with me today. If something in this episode stirred your heart or softened your edges, I'd love for you to subscribe, like, and share with someone you love, and leave a kind review. It helps this soul space reach those who need it most. Until next time, may you trust your inner voice, nourish your spirit, and treat yourself to something sweet.